What is up, guys? This is Godzilla Suplex, and welcome to today's episode of UFC Zilla, where we'll be going down what should be Daniel Cormier's last fight. Before I get into that, please hit that subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you can get a notification every time I make a video. Y'all enjoy. With Daniel Cormier dominantly defending his championship against Derek Lewis at UFC 230, now we are in the predicament that Daniel Cormier really only has two or possibly one fight left in him before he goes off and retires and basically walks off into the sunset. But before he does, what is the last fight that he should do? Let me go down the 5 possible candidates that should and might affect maybe Daniel Cormier's last fights. Starting off with Gustafsson 2. Now we all know that he did the interview where he was talking about, hey, he wouldn't go back down to Gus. But if Gus loses at UFC 2 or UFC 232, what does that leave Gus? Gus not going to get another rematch. He's just going to be stuck in purgatory being the lower guys of the division. So I think the UFC would definitely tell him to go up and fight Cormier at heavyweight and be your emergency replacement. You know, Gus really wants that redemption fight. If he's able to beat Daniel Cormier, even if he loses to John Jones, he puts a chip in Daniel Cormier's legacy while kind of propelling himself into one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, even though he would be a heavyweight. But another reason why they would make this fight is that, okay, if Gus goes up and loses, Daniel Cormier is only going to have one more fight left in him. What happens after he retires? The title goes vacant, and who would be fighting for that title? Stipe plus who else? Maybe Brock will make a comeback because, you know, the division is looking a little pale and weak. But Alexander Gustafsson could go up there and freaking dominate half of them with his skill. Now the problem is they have a lot of power up there, and he could easily get knocked out because he has struggled with power punchers. So I think Alexander Gustafsson, the UFC would love him to have that title. Having him as heavyweight and John Jones as, you know, light heavy, that would make them a lot of money doing something like that. And Gus staying up there would be great. And then they could have this another double champion match between John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. Even though Gustafsson has lost twice against John Jones, that would warrant another rematch between the two. And I think even though it's highly unlikely, it's still a possibility that we should think about. But now the next one I want to speak about is something that is really highly likely, and that is the Stipe Daniel Cormier rematch, which is what all I think hardcore MMA fans want to see, and really what the UFC really doesn't want to see. I think the UFC purposely contacted Cormier and offered him a lot of money to take Stipe out of that spot. The UFC really doesn't like Stipe at all. You know, they hate what he does. You know, I can't see because he had one of the most biggest pay-per-view buys of this year. So I guess it's the money. Stipe wants the real big money, and the UFC doesn't think he's quite worth it. So there's a disparity with that. So Stipe is really looking for that rematch. That would really make a lot of money because that would be really speculatory. You know, who would win. That was one of my first UFC Zilla videos predicting that fight. And man, I got totally wrong. I didn't see the elbow coming. So it's going to be real unpredictable, that fight, if Stipe can rise to the occasion and beat Daniel Cormier in his last fight. But unlike most situations where the UFC would not want to see Stipe in that matchup, I think the UFC would like to do it because if they send Stipe out there and he loses again, even if he retires and vacates the title, they have a motive or an incentive not to give him another shot because he lost the title twice. And Daniel Cormier is the best person to take out Stipe twice. So if they take him out twice, Stipe has to go back down and fight division fighters. And then, you know, if he doesn't want to go, he can leave. But if he wants to stay, he has to take a smaller deal or something like that. So it really is a situation that UFC had to look closely from their perspective. And also Stipe's got to at least get one on Cormier. If he does not beat him in this rematch, it's over. The UFC is not going to let him get near that title unless he just obliterates the whole division, which, you know, is questionable if he can still do at his age. But I think a more interesting fight, and which one no one is looking at right now. Nobody's looking at this prospect of this match happening again, and that is Rumble Johnson and Daniel Cormier 3 at heavyweight. Look, Anthony Johnson said that he wants to come back at heavyweight. You know, if the UFC, if all their plans fall through like UFC 230, what do? They go to Anthony Johnson and be like, will you take on him a third time? You could keep all your power at heavyweight and fight this dude. And if you manage to dethrone him, like, man, you just beat Daniel Cormier. You took 2 attempts at light heavy, then you beat him once in his last fight. And if he does win, he would knock him out. So he'd be on paper the first person to ever knock out Daniel Cormier. So it would put him in the ranks with John Jones. You know, he could fight, you know, he could beat a lot of those guys in that division because of his power and, you know, his pretty good, well-rounded fitness. But that leads to to a fight with Jon Jones. Like, all he has to do is defend the title maybe 2 or 3 times, and he gets that fight with Jon Jones, and we get the match that we all want to see, and he could go out and he could be proud of what he did. So I think that fight is really underrated in what people are looking at. But this fight is highly unlikely. Rumble Johnson really has been dominated by DC twice, and I think it would be highly doubtful that he would be able to capture it a third time. And really, he only wants to come back to fight Jon Jones at heavyweight. So that is another thing about that, why it could not work. But something that could work, and we all know it might come to pass, even though the contract with WWE seems like it's not going to allow him to, is Brock versus DC. And this is the fight that really people want to see, but it's more like an experiment fight, like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather was. Like, everybody knows DC's going to dominate Brock. Brock hasn't fought in years. And then last time he fought, he fought somebody who was nowhere near, DC's level, and Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's a great knockout artist, but, he's nowhere near what DC is at. DC is pound for pound one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, if not the greatest of all time. Maybe not eclipsing neither Cain Velasquez or Stipe, but he's up there. For being Stipe, he could be put above Stipe in that conversation. So if he beats Brock, which I think he will, and he'll beat him handedly, he will put the dude down, because the wrestling, Brock does not have anything but power, but it's a real risk, because if Daniel loses that fight, his GOAT status is officially rejected. Like, he's great, but how you gonna lose to Brock and he hasn't fought in 3 years? And he got popped for doing steroids too. So it's a real risky fight for his legacy, but he'll obviously dominate that fight. But I think the one fight that everybody wants to see is Jon Jones versus DC3. The first fight, Jon Jones won. The second fight really didn't materialize, and DC ended up fighting Anderson Silva. And the third fight was a no contest. Even though Jones knocked him out, he got tested positive for steroids that you saw later say he did not do on purpose. It was actually tainted substances. So, this is just a really bad situation. A rivalry just gone wrong, but the fans really want to see it. We want a really official end to this rivalry, and I think DC would gladly take the fight at heavyweight. If Jon Jones wins, he's certified as the GOAT. He's just the GOAT, period, point blank. If he beats DC in his division that he's undefeated in and puts that one in 14 or 15 and 1, he's officially, submitted himself as the GOAT. If he does it clean, just nothing coming out controversy about that, just straight clean, there's just no doubt that he is the best that has ever stepped in a UFC octagon. But my prediction about what's going to happen or who DC is going to face, I really think strongly that the Brock fight is not going to happen. I feel like it's going to fall through with the contract negotiations and everything like that. Anthony Johnson will not come back to be beaten a third time, because that would really put a bad taste in his mouth, because that'll kind of derail his heavyweight run. So to say, when really he can come back after DC retires and really have a good shot at getting the title. So then Jones, I think that matchup is the backup. I think it's a little bit too volatile for the UFC to first go with, and really, nobody wants to see them both go back and forth and struggle, and then DC crying in the ring, or you see this upset with Jones. I feel like the same thing is just gonna happen again. We're just gonna get a crying DC in the middle of the ring, and that's not a way that we want to see him go out. So then we have the Gustafsson heavyweight fight, and that is an interesting fight, but I still like Gustafsson gets dominated heavyweight. He wouldn't go up knowing that he has a chance, but he could very well could. So it's like the backup to the backup. But that only leaves one fight, and that's Daniel Cormier versus Stipe 2 to end out his career. I think he knocks Stipe out or wins by decision, and I think he goes out the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. And then we have a more interesting thought pattern now. Who is going to be the next one after he vacates? But guys, this has been the best go during UFC news. Please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell. And don't forget to do the survey or poll that I have of which person should fight DC for their last fight. And you guys have a nice day.